This is our commuter session. Happy to introduce Dr. Wenzel, Senior Director of the Office of Student Involvement at Fordham Lincoln Center, who will be going through everything you need to know as a commuter student. Yay. Okay. Awesome.
We are so excited to have you all here in a room. And I'm thrilled to be here with our commuting students. When I first started at Fordham, which feels like a lifetime ago, 2004, my first job here was working with our commuting students. And I'm very proud of the time that I've been here as a senior director and what we've been able to expand for our commuting students. So I want to say sincerely, you picked the right institution, the right campus to have a very vibrant commuting life and still be fully engaged in the campus environment. So I have some slides to share with you, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. We have some orientation leaders here today too that also commute. Rosa commutes from uptown New York. Rita, originally from Brooklyn, but commutes kind of close now. Gabriel, who stepped out for a moment, he commutes from pretty far South Brooklyn, and he'll be offering some guidance and advice so we can answer your questions as we go through this. So Commuter Student Services comes through our office, which is the Office for Student Involvement. You already saw Dan Patterson, the orientation coordinators. We do many of the things that are not happening in your classroom experience. And one of those things are Commuter Student Services. So our goal is to make sure that your experience here is seamless and integrated into the rest of campus life, helping you create a sense of community amongst commuting students, but also with the whole student population and bringing everybody together. We advise the Commuting Students Association, which I'll talk a bit more about in detail, and then our first year mentor program. So our commuting students make up nearly half of the student population here. So the entering class is about 40% commuting students, and then sometimes students who live in the residence hall will opt out and move off campus somewhere and get an apartment, which makes our overall total population about 50% commuting students for when you look at all 4 class years here for FCLC and Gabelli School of Business undergraduates here. They commute from all over the place. Sometimes we even have folks coming in from Connecticut, Westchester. Generally, most of our commuting students are from the 5 boroughs or Northern Jersey, but sometimes we do even get Suffolk County, Nassau County. So let's get a sense from raising hands in the room. How many are coming from Queens? My Queens people, I'm originally a Queens lady. Brooklyn? Got some Brooklyn, oh, less Brooklyn. Usually we're full on Brooklyn. Staten Island? Bronx? Okay, Manhattan? Got a couple, wonderful. Jersey? Okay, and do we have any Westchester people here with us today? Oh, got a Westchester, great. Long Island, either county in Long Island, wonderful. Excited to have you. So yes, this is a full breadth and diversity of our students and where they're coming from. I would say at some institutions, when I talk with colleagues who work at other universities, they tell me how they struggle to get their commuting students sometimes to be fully integrated. Here, in terms of student leaders, as part of our 61 clubs, we actually have more commuters in leadership roles than we do residents. And so there is really no barrier to becoming a very engaged student leader on campus because of how big our population is of commuting students. All clubs offer programs and events that are sometimes at commuter-friendly times, and not everything is happening on weekends or late at night. So there is a very easy way to get involved in our student clubs and organizations. This here promotes a little bit about our Commuting Students Association. They do an appreciation week, and it just gives you some photos of what life is like. I want to talk first about our Commuter First Year Mentor Program. We have 9 upper class student leaders that are hired to work for us for the course of your first year, and you'll be assigned a mentor. So every incoming first year student, whether you're a resident or a commuter, gets a mentor. So if you live in McKeon, you will get a resident freshman first year mentor. If you are commuting to campus, then you get a commuter first year mentor. So they are trained over the summer. they are passionate about commuting. They're passionate about Fordham. They will be contacting you in about the middle of July, maybe the third week of July, and then they'll be your mentor for the whole first year. It's your choice to opt in. So they're hired to reach out to you weekly, check in with you, ask if you have questions about registering. When you have to register for the second semester, you have questions about how to navigate Fordham. They'll be there and advice for you, but you're also not required necessarily to meet with them. I would say that that is your choice to then opt in. They'll offer office hours that'll be likely both virtual and in person. As we return now to in-person events, they're expected to tell their mentees which events on campus in general they're going to, in case you were thinking you might want it to go, but you weren't sure if you were going to know somebody there. They also will run in-person events, both just for commuting first-year students, as well as collaborating with our resident first-year mentors to offer programs for the full class. I know that my image is covering the slide a little bit, but if you'd like to follow them on Instagram, they're at fordham.cfm. So they'll be posting there as the summer goes on. Our Commuting Students Association is our elected student government body. We have a few student governments on campus. There's United Student Government, which is the broad for everybody here at Lincoln Center. Commuting Students Association that represents specifically commuting students. And then we have a Residence Hall Association that represents resident students. The Commuting Students Association works both on policy issues to make sure that commuting life here is as strong as possible, but they also do a lot of programming efforts. So they will, that are open to all students, but are targeted at times and days that are very commuter friendly. So coffee breaks happen usually twice a month on a Thursday during our activity block. They'll do dinner outings. They support the New York Culture Day. They do an annual week of commuting students appreciation. So if you'd like to follow them on Instagram, they are at CSA_LC. We offer locker rentals, so that'll be launching later in August. You can register through our office website to get a locker. The lockers are over in Lowenstein on most floors. We usually have first-year students get lockers mostly on the 4th and 5th floor of Lowenstein, because those tend to be more where your classes are scheduled. We don't have lockers here in this building, which is the 140 West building. So some of our Gabelli first-year students might have more of your classes over here, but it's not a far walk to get to Lowenstein. That way you can have a place to put your winter coat. You can leave books that you don't need to take home each and every day, so that you have them here. That way you're commuting with just what you need for the next upcoming assignments. It's $20 for the full academic year, $15 for the semester. And then we have a variety of commuter-friendly spaces on campus. Over in Lowenstein, we have 2 lounges, a student lounge in the back of the Ram Cafe. The Ram Cafe itself is open. You don't have to have purchased food to sit at a table there. They have an extra microwave, so if you brought lunch with you, that's a place to heat up your food and sit at either in the student lounge or in the Ram Cafe in general. We also have a lounge on the top of the escalator, the Plaza Lounge, which is not listed here. There's a 3rd floor lounge, which is a place for studying on the 3rd floor of Lowenstein, as well as just hanging out. Quinn Library, which is the glass windows right behind there. All 3 floors should be reopened come the fall. And so the 1st floor here is a place where you can have conversations, do group projects. The 2nd floor is a little bit quieter. And then the 3rd floor is the quiet floor where students will opt into to be in complete silence to do their schoolwork. And then downstairs, 1 floor down here in the 140 West building, right by Argo Tea, is our Garden Lounge, which is a very popular commuting and resident student hangout, just place we have a patio outside. There's tables and chairs inside, so that's another place to be. Our office, I mentioned just a little bit already, but we have 61 undergraduate student clubs. As I mentioned, we have very high numbers of commuting students who are the leaders of these clubs. We run new student orientation. We support alcohol and other drug education. Our BULLC is our peer educators that are sponsored out of our office. And then we do leadership development programming for all of our student leaders. So we hope that you will get to know us. Our Instagram is on the last page here as we move forward. Student services are open to all students, regardless of whether they live on campus or commute. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. Downstairs, where my office is located, is also where counseling center is located, health services is located, career services, multicultural affairs. We're all next to one another. We're all down the hall from the Garden Lounge by Argo Tea. So it's a popular place for people to be, and all of those offices will be fully open for the fall. Campus Ministry and the Center for Community Engaged Learning are over in Lowenstein. You just saw Carol Gibney, who's wonderful, who presented about our Jesuit mission. The Center for Community Engaged Learning does a lot of volunteer service work that students can opt into. And global outreach is part of the Center for Community Engaged Learning. So some tips and thoughts to think about for your commuting experience. I know now people are opting in more for the Omni, just swipe when you go on, but you should look at some of the cost analysis for how many times you're coming to campus. Is it worth it to get a weekly or a monthly Metro card so that you have more unlimited swipes? Some of our students that are coming in through the Port Authority will sometimes just opt to walk up. It's not that long of a walk. You don't have to do that, but those are things that sometimes I find our students are thinking about. New Jersey Transit does give a discount for NJT. So if you email our office, we can give you more of those details about how to make that request. That's not Fordham, that's NJT. We recommend that you mention to your professors at the start of the semester, they're commuting in too. They understand that sometimes things don't arrive on time, or there's a snowstorm in the winter that might delay your ability to get to campus. So feel free to mention that to your professors so that they're usually fairly understanding. You've already registered, right, for FCLC students, and then Gabelli students, Father Vin registers you. How many students here are in Gabelli School of Business? Okay. All right, so I'm pretty sure Gabelli students have not gotten their schedules yet, right? You have them? Okay, wonderful. And all the FCLC students from College of Lincoln Center students would have already registered. You still have opportunities to make some changes to your schedule. So however you made your schedule, completely fine. Something to think about as you go into your spring semester is that sometimes a 3-day schedule can seem really attractive on paper, but can also be a little bit of a challenge to have all of your classes back to back. And only coming to campus 3 days a week. So we often say it's helpful to try to come 4 days a week, but if you already made a schedule that worked better for you for 3 days a week, you'll still have plenty of opportunities to be involved on campus. Thursdays is a really popular day on campus for our commuting students. So there's an 8:30 and a 10 o'clock class, and then there's no class again until 2:30. So most of our undergraduate clubs, not all, but most meet during the Thursday activity block. And that is when the Commuting Students Association does a lot of their programs and events, and sometimes the commuter first year mentors. So as you look at your Thursday schedule, both for the fall semester and as you book your schedule for future semesters, thinking about trying to make sure you're coming to campus on Thursday. There's a lot of things happening on Friday evenings as well, and other times of the week, especially as we get on in the semester. Clubs will start programming more on Tuesday later in the afternoon and Wednesday, but Thursday tends to be the highest traffic time, and Thursday evening as well. Okay, so some tips that we've gotten from our mentors before and the Student Leaders and Commuting Students Association. As you come to campus here, you already know a lot about the city, and the city's changed so much in this last year and will continue to change. So please bring that exploring attitude here to campus, because there's always going to be new things to learn about our city. We encourage you to come to campus events and get involved. Celebrate the wins, the students always tell us. So sometimes you can be stressful, like what's your train time, and did you get stuck in a tunnel, and what happened to get here? And so anytime that you have small wins are also big wins. So making sure that you are celebrating those, and also just being mindful that you have a different layer of complications with the commuting sometimes in. And that's okay. And that doesn't mean that you can't be a fully involved student on campus. Want to make sure you think about taking advantage of your downtime on campus. We already mentioned Quinn Library that's right out here, taking opportunities to utilize. Sometimes students will say, my commute's miserable to be doing schoolwork. Other students are like, I do my reading on my commute. Other students are like, I downloaded everything on Netflix and I use that as my time to decompress so that when I get home and do my family responsibilities at home, then I can actually study. So you need to figure out, and you will figure out what's best for you. There is no one right way to navigate your commute. Every student is going to be different. And as you get into your fall semester, you'll be able to balance and figure out what is the best options. And then to our families in the room and to the students who didn't come with a family member, but you're going to go home to a family member, the summer is a great time to start talking about what are some of the expectations. I've heard from some of our upper class student leaders that it's been important to talk with their family to say, sometimes you get to campus and you forgot that there was an event that night that you wanted to go to. So what's the flexibility to come home later? What are the other expectations? Because sometimes you end up being here longer, or somebody invites you to go hang out somewhere and you're not going to get home quite at the same time that you expected to when you left in the morning. So it's just always helpful in the summer to be able to have those conversations and have an open line of communication. And then we love acronyms here. So CSA is our Commuting Students Association, Commuter First Year Mentors or CFMs, our orientation leaders who are here in the maroon shirts, and the captains, and then the coordinators. We're all going to be resources for you in your first year, so please reach out to us. Gabriel was willing to come on down and explain a little bit to you about how he's been able to navigate the commute with being highly involved in campus. Can I invite you down, Gabriel? Because he has been a superstar being involved.
Hello? All right, great. All right, so my name is Gabriel Garcia. I'm a Clarissa Commuter student, FCLC class of 2023, and I'm a political science major, so there's that. So my history of involvement in the student life here, I guess I would really say that it started with the Commuter Student Association. Well, I was involved in the SOUL, the student organization of Latinx. I recommend experimenting. I guess that's the first lesson I would say. Don't marry yourself to a club the first time. Just you can go there once, but you shouldn't marry yourself to it immediately. Experiment with the stuff, because I went back and forth in the first semester with the CSA and SOUL, but I mostly spent my first semester and my first year, in fact, with the Commuter Student Association. You will learn about this once you come in, but they have the Senator program. So that's you can run, when you sign up for that, you help out with the events, and you will eventually be able to run for e-board position. So treasurer, president, vice president, so on and so forth. In my spring of 2020, I finally got around to writing with the Observer. The Fordham Observer is the student newspaper that we have here at Fordham at Lincoln Center. I started at the spring of 2020 with the opinion section, but then in the fall and also to the present, I'm now more so involved with the arts and culture, but they have plenty of other fun sections at the Fordham Observer. They have news, opinions, arts and culture. They have a podcast and it's a bunch of other fun things. They really take any ideas. So I would highly recommend checking out the Observer. They are admittedly a bit later. They're Mondays at 5:30, so you might have a class or commute conflict. I know that was a factor that prevented me from getting involved earlier than I'd like to. I didn't really get involved with the Observer until when things were online in the March of 2020, but I would say they're worth sticking around for. And also in my sophomore year, I started to get involved with the United Student Government, which is the umbrella government, as Dr. Wenzel mentioned. You started out as a senator. There are three per FCLC, 3 for FCLC per class year, and there is 1 Gabelli senator. So I would recommend at the very least sitting in on the meet. Well, you can run for office near the beginning, but I would recommend whether you run for it or not, I recommend at least sitting in because the meetings are open to the public. Anyone can go, whether or not you're elected to an office or not. And I've continued that, in particular, the facilities committee. On the facilities, so I should explain the USG committees. There's facilities, which like basically does to do with the physical campus, like hours at Argo T, the library, like dining. So basically we're relating to the physical experience on campus. There's student affairs, which has to do with like the events, like you'll hear about the undergraduate of the year. There's what is it called? Winterfest and other matters. And then there's another, what's the last one? Operations. Yes, they deal with the approving of clubs, and there are a bunch of other fun stuff they do. So I did the facilities committee for my class year, for my 2020 to 2021. And I liked it so much that I decided to run for chair of facilities. And chair of facilities is part of the e-board. So that's so for example, the senator, only your class year votes for, but if you run for the e-board, anyone attending Fordham who's not a senior, because seniors don't vote in the elections, anyone can vote for you. And I managed to eke it out by 13 votes. And so now I'll be doing that. And also, so for advice, I would just say, well, thank you for listening to my resume, but for advice, I would just say, just to stick around mainly. Like, it's like, there are very simple decisions that can matter a lot. Like for example, when I started out, I would mostly just study at home, but then later I would just like study in the library at Quinn on the first floor, or instead of just eating out, like even if you eat out, because you don't necessarily have to get a meal plan, instead of just eating out, I would just take the food back to Argo T and maybe meet someone new or see a familiar face to chat up, and also just like sticking around for campus. I would just say that would be the main thing for getting involved. Just stick around and just to put yourself out there, really.
Thank you, Gabriel.
All right, thanks.
I think I've already mentioned most of this earlier. I forgot this was a separate slide, but thinking about your commute's going to be individual to you and what's best for you, whether it's downtime or studying time. Gabriel already highly mentioned about having lunch down at the Argo T, putting yourself out there to get to know people, using that time to text people to say, I'm still on campus, you want to meet up? Making sure that you maintain open communication. So if you're a Gabelli student, Father Vin DeCola you're going to be your advisor. If you're a Fordham College at Lincoln Center student, you get a faculty advisor that will be assigned to you this summer. And then you also have your first year Dean O'Kane, who will be presenting earlier. And if you're a transfer student into Fordham College at Lincoln Center, Dean Stark Giandrano will be joining us later as well. And they are also your point of contact. So they're here to be able to support you in terms of asking them questions about how to navigate academics, navigate registration, how to have a conversation with a faculty member if you're not sure how your grades are doing for a given semester. I will also take a moment to mention that every faculty member offers office hours. I realized in my sophomore year of my undergraduate experience that those were really helpful. And so I always share that with our incoming students and with student leaders who I meet with, is that sometimes just going to those office hours to ask about questions about an upcoming assignment, I figured out like, oh, they'll ask me questions about what they're thinking of for my paper. And like, I would have never thought that that would be a question I should think about when writing this paper. And so I ended up being better prepared for assignments if I chose to go to an office hour and ask some clarifying questions to be able to help myself move forward. So think about using office hours for your academic classes. And I already mentioned being on campus on Thursdays. So we're going to move to Q&A if anybody has questions. I'm going to put up here our Instagram information so that you can get our office email address, our website for commuter student services, and then our different Instagram handles. So I open the floor. Yes. Yes, we are recording today, and so they're going to give that to us in the next couple business days, and we'll get it captioned and then put it on the website. It probably won't be on the website until sometime next week, but yes, this will be available. And then whoever's giving the presentation on my team, it might not be me, on the 19th, we're also going to record that. And then on the 19th of July, we are offering for anybody who wasn't able to come to campus to join in via Zoom to also take their questions. Did I see a hand up there? Okay, so the question is, should have said that too for the recording. The question is if there's discounts for the MTA. My understanding is the MTA has not given discounts to college students. I know that that has come up with United Student Government over time with other institutions in New York where they've been trying to band together to see if they can get a discount, but that's not a Fordham decision, that's an MTA. And my understanding is that they do not. Yes. Great question. So the question is about IDs. The IDs will be available in August. I'm not sure the exact date. Somebody asked me that earlier today, and I realized I need to ask that question. So you can opt in for either a virtual ID or a hard copy ID. If you want to have a hard copy ID, I still have my hard copy ID. It's really your own decision. That you'll get on your first day of orientation. So in the Sunday in August, when we have you start to come to campus, we'll have your ID available for you. If you opt into the virtual digital ID that's going to be on your phone, that information about how to log in and claim that, you can only have one or the other. So you have to decide if you want the digital ID, perfect, get the digital ID. We won't have a hard copy for you on your first day of orientation. If you would like to have the hard copy ID, we'll have that for you. Does that answer your question about IDs? And then the ID, you just need to have it with you. So figure out which is the easiest. Sometimes students will say, I don't want to worry about my phone, and is my phone dead? I'd rather have the hard copy. Other students have really opted in for the digital ID. Once you pull it up, it scans at all the scan readers. And we have a new lawn space over on closer to Amsterdam on 60th Street, which we've been doing more events out there. We call it the McMahon Lawn. It's an open space for hanging out, and that you just scan your ID and the turnstile unlocks and you get in, but you can use your digital ID or your hard copy ID. Yes. Okay, question is about a commuting students moving off campus. Rita, would you be somebody who could come up and talk about navigating moving off campus, or Allie or Rosa, any of you? Because you have done more of that than I have. Why don't you come up here, just because then the recording. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I was actually a resident for my first 2 years, but this past year, or first year and a half, I should say, the past year I decided to move off campus in the area. It's a pretty popular option to do so, especially for like juniors and seniors, I would say. My original plan was actually to stick in like in-person on-campus housing until my senior year, then just everything with COVID happened, change of plans. Honestly, your best friend is going to be like street easy and just, looking online for different listings. There are a bunch of students that do make that transition. So mostly what I've found is helpful is speaking to people who have moved off campus, like people that you'll get to know at Fordham, and asking like if they have any realtors they worked with, or like where they found listings, or if they have note of any apartments in the area. That's really helpful. Also looking into resources that maybe like NYU may have for students moving off campus, Columbia students as well, because those are, a lot of students decide to move off campus in those areas as well, in those neighborhoods. So that's also possible to do. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of looking, can be time consuming and a little hard to find like the spot for you, but definitely possible. Especially in the area. I only live, this is gonna sound like a lot, but like 20 blocks away. That's like nothing. I can walk to work if I wasn't lazy and got up on time. I don't do that, I take the bus because I like to sleep. But in the beginning I walked and it was great. There are a bunch of people that are like I know that are here today that have just moved in the area as well. So just a matter of looking. So. Yeah. Basically on your own. Yeah, of course.
Yes, we do not have a specific garage for Fordham Lincoln Center, but we have partnerships with several area garages, and it's listed on the website where if you park there and take the pass from the parking lot, they can stamp it at the Lowenstein front desk. They have a stamp on there, and then it gives you a discount on their daily rate. Yes. Yeah, it's a daily rate around here. Yes. Oh, great question. Club participation process. So we have an online platform called Rams Involved. Later this summer, you'll all be automatically uploaded to Rams Involved. You can access it after you log into your online portal, and there's also a website address. So we'll promote that to you. And in there, you can choose to sign up for as many student clubs as you would like. I really liked Gabriel's advice about sign up for a couple, even though you're not sure if you, and then basically shop around a little bit. Like, where's the one that you feel like is the right vibe and you're meeting people, and then stick with that one or two clubs that you're really motivated to be on. It doesn't hurt to be on the mailing list for multiple clubs, though, to at least hear about their upcoming events, even if it's not a club that you would like to go to their weekly meeting on. Then the first week of classes, right after Labor Day, so a couple days into the first days of classes, we're going to offer a club fair. So all the undergraduate clubs will have a table outside. We're still scheduling how we organize that to be spread out to be COVID safe. And so then you can come and get to know a club leader, sign up there as well. Either option is going to be an available option for getting involved in a club. Once you've signed up for the club, then it's the club leader's responsibility to reach out to the members. So occasionally people will show up at our office and say, I signed up at club day, nobody's contacted us. And then we'll help nudge, like, did you lose what's going on in your club? So some clubs are going to start right away in Commuting Students Association, United Student Government, our Campus Activities Board, the Observer, Student Newspaper. They tend to start within the second, third week of classes. Some other clubs, depending on the student leaders and are they reacclimating back on campus, they might not start until later September. We encourage them to start as early as possible, but that's why I think it's also helpful to sign up for a couple of student clubs so that you have some that are going to start early in the semester and some who might need to take a little bit of time before they get started. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Sure. Circumstances for free access to the RAM van. If you're taking a class at the Rose Hill campus, then you qualify for free RAM van passes, and you request that through the Intercampus Transportation RAM van office. So your core classes will be at the Lincoln Center campus, but as you get into electives and other classes, you might be taking classes at Rose Hill. If you're a natural science major, some of the labs are required to be because of rules about chemicals coming into Manhattan. And so there are some labs that you'll automatically have at the Rose Hill campus. You also qualify for a free RAM van pass if you joined a club that we don't have here at Lincoln Center. So if you like, for example, their campus activities board more than our campus activities board, that doesn't qualify for a free pass. But I know that they have clubs that we don't have here at Lincoln Center. So if there's a club that exists at Rose Hill that you want to be involved in, then the advisor of the club helps you navigate getting, verifying that you're an active member of that club and getting you free RAM van passes. Then the other option is for internships. So if you get an internship in the Bronx that is requiring you to be in person, as internships are going to start to shift less virtual and more in person again, that would qualify as well. So if you're a Rose Hill student with an internship in Manhattan, you can also ask for a complimentary RAM van pass. Yes. Commuting students and meal plans. Some do, not that many. They do offer commuter meal plans. So I would suggest you look into them because they are then discounted. So the advantage of a meal plan that are listed as a commuter meal plan is that you get meal swipes in the first floor of the law school is where all the first years who live in McKeon have to have meal swipes, and you have to swipe in. It's pay one price. You can also pay with credit card or cash. You pay one price to get in, but it's discounted if you have a meal plan with swipes. And then it's all you care to eat. You swipe in once or pay once, the entry fee for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and then you get to stay there and eat and come back, sit down, but go back and forth. The other locations on campus that Aramark runs, the Ram Cafe, Argo Tea, Schmelzer, which is on the second floor of the law school. They offer meal exchanges now. That's a newer thing that have started in the last year, where you can use a meal swipe for a dedicated meal, but the majority of what they offer is also retail. So if you do a meal exchange swipe, for example, in the Ram Cafe, it might be a burger with fries and a drink. And then if you wanted to get the yogurt or the other option, then you're paying the retail price. An option that I'd also ask commuting students to think about is that they do allow you to put declining balance money on there. So that's not, it doesn't give you a meal swipe. You would put on, say, 100, 200, even 50, however much, and then that you don't have to use then cash or a credit card. You just use that declining amount and then you add more on. So that you can also use, so if the door price for a meal swipe for lunch is, I don't remember the amount off the top of my head, I have declining balance on my card, I hand my card and they just swipe they take that amount, the flat rate. Sometimes they run promotions though. So if you put on a certain amount of money, they'll kick it up higher. In addition to that, if you have money on your declining balance, they don't have to charge you tax. So that is another way for saving some money. So sometimes commuting students will do that. Does that help answer the different options? Yes. For the Omni with the credit card, my understanding is yes, you do transfer. And a handful of commuting students that were coming to campus all this year who were starting to use Omni more have said that that's worked fairly seamlessly. Though I have heard occasionally there's been a bus or two that maybe has not had Omni yet, but I know the MTA has done more to spread that out. So I think there's going to be less of an experience. But I have heard from a couple upper class students like, that was really annoying when I tried to transfer to the bus and the bus didn't, from the subway, and the bus couldn't recognize my pass. But I think that that's going to be fairly minimal moving forward from what the MTA has publicized. Other questions? Yes. Okay, library questions. Do any of you know what the access for other libraries? I know our Quinn Library does do promotions to, not promotions, that's the wrong word. They have brought people in from the New York Public Library to get you signed up for a New York Public Library card. No, they've done that. And I know we have some reciprocal access, but I don't know if I know all the details. Rosa, do you think you know? You want to come down? When I was doing my PhD work, I mostly had them get me books from other libraries and send it here.
So I know for New York Public Library, like you can get a library card as long as you have anything with an address anywhere in New York. So it could literally, you just go when you go in and you bring like a letter someone wrote, like your lease, your address, anything that it's on, just to show that you live in New York State anywhere. And then they just give you the library card. Like I did it last week because I lost my library card, and you just go in with your address and you get a library card, and then you get access to any of them. So it's really easy. And they have online stuff too now. And online, you don't even have to give your address or anything. You can just access it right away. So it's really simple.
And then I do know we have relationships with a variety of other research libraries of other college institutions because they've all banded together. So if you see a book that's not available here, that it has access at another library, we can get it sent here. I would say that most of our students, if they see a book that's at the Rose Hill campus, you opt in to get it sent down to Lincoln Center. It's usually here the next business day. If you do it on a weekend, it's going to take a little bit of time. And if you do it at 2 a.m, it's not going to be here at noon. It'll be here the next business day, but that's also a fast option. And back to the question about RAM-Van passes, occasionally a student has needed a book at Rose Hill for an assignment and needs it quicker or needs to go up to look at all the other shelves near that one book to see what else is available that might help their paper. And the librarian, reference librarian, will meet with a student here at Quinn Library, assess whether that's a need. And I think they have an ability to give a RAM-Van pass if a student needs to go up. But I would say in the pandemic, a lot of things that weren't virtual before, the library has worked tirelessly to make it all much more available virtually, digitally for students. Yes. RAM-Van are taking the subway. Rosa, you want to come back? So the question for those who are watching the recording, which is faster to get to our Bronx campus, the RAM-Van or the subway?
If it's at rush hour, do not take the RAM-Van if you need to be somewhere quick. Because at like rush hour time, there's a lot of traffic. They do take different routes. So like the RAM-Van office is really good about like, they'll change their route. They have a couple set ones, but depending on like the time of day, I've noticed they do change to try and get around a lot of the traffic, which is really great. But if it's at rush hour, definitely take the subway. The D train is not far from the Rose Hill campus. They also have a shuttle. So like at night, if you're late at the Rose Hill campus, you can go and they'll like drive you if you go to public safety, and they'll drive you and drop you off at the train station. So you don't have to worry about being like unsafe or anything if it's late at night. So like you can get to the train fairly easily from there. But both are really good options, but definitely for speed, don't drive at rush hour.
Yeah, I think everybody has a different bandwidth. Like personally, I don't get on a RAM-Van 3 p.m. or later. If I can get on that 2:30, has tended to be my sweet spot. There's been some semesters where I've taught a Gabelli Business School class at Rose Hill. And then at some point that's been my personal, but I also know students who will get on the RAM-Van at all sorts of hours because they still think that's better for them and their experience, and they could do schoolwork on the van. Me, I'll just walk and take the D train. And then when Rosa was talking about the commute, I would say rush hour in the morning is usually not too bad. I'll still get on a RAM-Van. It's more the afternoon rush hour as people are leaving Manhattan. But I will say in this past year, the traffic patterns have changed with the pandemic. So some of this advice is a little bit more based on pre-pandemic. And so we'll see how the city shakes out with where traffic comes down to. Metro North is also an option. It's a more expensive option, but if you happen to be closer to Grand Central for going in, taking the Metro North Fordham stop up there, it leaves you right at one of the entrance gates to the Bronx campus. So that's another option. So Rita, let me know that we think that we can start heading out a little bit early to lunch. I will stay up here to help answer any other individual questions that you might have. And I really appreciate your time with us today, and I hope the rest of your day goes well. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Mansell. So we're going to have our OLs, Gabriel and Rosa, escort you to the plaza for lunch. You're more than welcome to eat outside, but we do have indoor seating available since it is very hot outside in the atrium, which the OLs can point you in the direction of, Cosentino, which is the room that you guys started in, or in Bateman, which is right across the hall from that original room, Cosentino. So up to you guys, but enjoy lunch. So you can just follow Rosa, Ali, and Gabriel. Yeah. And if you're a Gabelli student, you'll be returned into this room after lunch, but we'll point you in that direction.